Hello, I'm Earl Gibbs, and welcome to Speaking About Everything. I have a very interesting guest with us on the program. You'll meet my guest when I come back, but let me tell you about the sponsors. Windward Islands Bank in Phillipsburg, in Cul-de-sac, and in Simpson Bay. The Windward Islands Bank for all your banking needs is the Windward Islands Bank, and GBO, Local Water and Electricity Company, serving St. Martin for over 6 decades. That's GEBE. And I'm Earl Gibbs, and with me here I have the one and only MP Ludmila Duncan. How you doing, MP?
I am very good, Earl. Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
And good to have you in the program.
Thank you. Good to be here again.
Thanks. Most people, we had quite some time trying to arrange this program, and then something happened after you couldn't make it. And that something is that you're no longer a member of the National Alliance, or you know, is that correct? Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, for some people, the reason why you said it was difficult for me coming in that is that I was speaking with someone. They said, well, she resigned, but she's still a member of the National Alliance. So it's not clear to some people. They're a little confused.
Okay.
So we also talk about that. But MP, tell us why you decided at this time to leave the party, because the party is a very close-knit, strong party. The first and last person to do that was your colleague, MP Emmanuel, and now you.
First, let me say again that it was one of the most difficult decisions for me to make because indeed, grew up in a family that supported the SPA
Right.
and the National Alliance for 30 years. So there's that emotional connection. I also, I mentioned it earlier as well in an interview because MP Emmanuel indeed was also brought up, and we both have this emotional connection to the party. So it was extremely difficult. And just like with everything in life, there are seasons and things change. So the party is changing and transitioning in its approach to governance. And honestly, for me, the way in which I believe government should operate, I started to notice that decisions that were being made was in contravention to some of my values. I talk about, and I did last year, I talk about ethical decision making. So government makes decisions that should be fair, they should be transparent, they should include everyone. And so if decisions are being made in which these don't appear to be taking place, then I am struggling with standing up on these principles and also, let's say, towing party lines, which is, political culture. So there's been a number of incidents in which I voted in a different direction to the party. And if this is the continuous case, then it means that maybe I am not a fit for the party, and going independent would allow me to work in a different way, to me in a more effective way for the people. So there was a number of things over the last year especially that made me feel as if maybe I'm not the right fit for the party with the direction that it's going, and it's time for me to serve in another capacity.
I want to jump back very quick here to 95, because in 1995 we had Hurricane Lois. Simar was devastated, and why I'm bringing this up is because it's a reflection of that time. We were part of the Nelson Tillies. We had a terrible hurricane, and then we had the imposition of turnover tax. And your father stood in Parliament in Willemstad, and he said, look, I'm going to vote my conscience. You couldn't get angry with him. He voted his conscience, he voted in favor. The other senator from St. Martin went further, and that created quite some issues locally with other people in terms of, if your washing machine is broken, don't buy a new one, fix it. If your refrigerator is broken, don't buy a new one, fix it. Hurricane or no hurricane, St. Martin had to pay. That was really hard. And one of our own people, I think probably she regretted that in hindsight, but that was the tension at the time with the turnover tax. It was an austerity measure that was going to be there temporarily. We fast forward from 95 to now, it's still there.
It's still there.
So I admire your courage and position here, because we don't oftentimes see this.
It's interesting because I have learned, and this was even before I was in Parliament, in watching my father, in watching or hearing the stories of politicians who stood sometimes apart from where everyone else was. I have come to learn that eventually history will show you that you were either on the right side or on not necessarily the wrong side, but this is what made sense now that we look back in hindsight
Yeah.
always. Whenever we look back, we see that there are people that will be vindicated for decisions that were made to look like the wrong decisions, and some will say, "Okay, I don't know if anyone admits, what that was a wrong decision, but for me, in time, everything will reveal itself, and that's why I feel at peace in my heart and mind that I am standing on principles, and those principles should." Take me to a better place in my career, and that is what I'm going to trust. Yeah.
So now, if there's a vote in Parliament, you vote either side, doesn't matter which party proposed it.
Yes, no, so I have made it clear, and the Prime Minister and I have a very open and good relationship, and I've told her that any laws that come to Parliament that are in benefit of the people, I am supporting. I am supporting. I have no issues, especially personal issues with the government. This is not personal at all. Anything that is good for St. Martin people, I can be counted on for my vote and support, definitely.
So, but other things that you want to see that you didn't see or you weren't patient enough to wait for?
The thing is with me is that I came out of government as a policy advisor. So I know the bottlenecks. I know the capacity because we always hear about the capacity problem. I also know the potential the government has, and I know the importance of bringing everybody on the table together in order to work together for a common goal. So I don't believe that I am being hard when when I say that, let's say, education needs to be reformed and I'm not seeing anything happen. I don't think that I'm being difficult about that. I know that there is a capacity problem, but there are ways in which we can strengthen capacity, create projects in which people, all of these people that we have on St. Martin, ready and willing to work to do things, we just need to bring them together. So if I think about education in particular, even after COVID, there's a number of things that can still be done that is not being done. And I plan to do my work from Parliament.
When you say things, and you probably gave some examples of what you feel need to be done, or that's...
So we had about a year and a half of e-learning, and I was one who asked very quickly after the schools returned, what has the impact of COVID been on our education? What happened with the students? How many students have been affected because not everyone has a laptop at home? How are we supporting the teachers? The teachers have gone through, like everyone else, a season of their life that is extremely difficult, and now to go back into the schools, what needs to take place? And a proper report on the impact of COVID was not issued in order for us to say, no, okay, this is where we need to go based on this data. So that was one of the cases to me that stood out, because the Youth Parliament was actually in Parliament recently, and they did their survey in 2020. And most students said this e-learning, online learning is not working for us. So based on that, what have we done to help students in that way?
And you feel the same way?
Yes. Yes, I mean, my daughter, I have a 9-year-old. She was one who, she needs a classroom. She needs a classroom, that environment, that individual support. And so I don't know what's happening now with our teachers. I don't know if they need extra support. For those students who, let's say, failed the last year, what is the plan? And again, I've always believed in bottom up, because to me, the innovation happens on the ground. So not a government knows everything.
Right.
It should always be a collaboration with the schools and even the youth involved. So to me, education is an area in which we need to see progress quickly.
You know, it's very interesting that you mentioned that, because if you go back to 1984, when I started this program on television, and I had Jack Veras, who was the Minister of Education at the time, it was such a big issue in the former Nellis Antilles. And then we had the whole thing about English as the language of instruction. Then we had the other issues of second teacher in the classroom with foundation-based
So we're still
education.
talking about.
I don't know where we're going.
And that's the thing, right? There are so many hardworking people and civil servants, and we've done conferences and studies and reports. We know what needs to change. It's just to do it. It really is just to do it. Everything is there. We have the skills on St. Martin, and it's quite it's difficult, and it's almost hurtful to think about the fact that we're having the same conversations now, especially about education, that we had 20, 30 years ago. It's crazy to me. But I feel like we have all the potential in the world. It just takes decisive leadership and a vision for St. Martin.
And that now takes us back to our relationship with the Dutch government over the years. It's for that same reason sometimes what we end up in this conflict situation.
Yes, I keep saying that we're living in this really historic time, because although we've always had some issues, now we're facing it. But I feel like us and the islands are saying, you know what, something needs to change about the way in which we deal with each other. I think there are a lot of possibilities for us to work with the Dutch. We have to be open and honest about the realities. We have a capacity problem, but that doesn't mean that we don't have a vision for where we want our people to go. Again, though, it is about leadership and who is in the steering seat.
A lot of people have been hearing the word capacity problem. But for the average person, they still don't understand what it is.
So human resources, people, and then people who know how to get a job done. For me, I have always believed in giving our people the opportunity to come back home. I was one of those who I went away to study. I lived in the United States. I lived in Holland, and I came back with skills to give to the country. We have a lot of our students who have come back or who want to come back who are not getting the opportunities to want. I also believe that those students or those St. Martiners abroad who don't want to come back, they want to give back too. So whether it's financial, whether it's just through knowledge, through data, all of this we need to tap into.
But there's a fear of students by a certain group. There's also fear by that same group of young politicians, and now they're probably regretting that they allow so many of you to run.
No, no, I think, we're in a transition period. It's been 12 years since 10. So it's natural that new politicians will come into the game. But I think we're seeing both worlds. We're seeing new politicians, but then we're seeing those that are saying we're going to stand in our principles. And we're seeing other types of politicians as well. So for me, it's a mix of, yes, the country's going in the right direction, but there's a lot of work to do still. But one thing I do know, that in Parliament, we are extremely to me, collaborative, and we're trying to erase some of the old political culture when it doesn't serve.
The people of St. Martin, and I don't know if you're aware of this, they're not happy with Parliament. They've not been happy with Parliament from its inception.
Yeah, I was talking about my performance, and I have not done half or even 3/4 of what I should have done up until this point. And that's for a number of reasons. For assistance, for the way in which Parliament is set up. The fact that we also lose or we're missing staff. But I know this Parliament for sure has been working on trying to change the structure. And I know for sure now that I am in this new position, a lot more should come out in terms of proposals. So I think COVID had a big impact on Parliament as well, but I do think that there should be an improvement moving forward when you compare this Parliament to other parliaments before.
But what do you think people don't understand about Parliament? Because we hear all the complaints. We never heard it in the former Netherlands until it's now that we are island within the kingdom, a country within the kingdom. The population seems to be just constantly demanding so much from Parliament, and they're not getting it.
Because I think it's in our face right now. When you had an Antillean Parliament, MPs, senators were in Curacao, and island council members were everything. And now we have a government, ministers, and then we have a local parliament. So these are all of these people elected or put in these positions to make a difference. And I think they have a right to demand a lot more from us, even if our structures are outdated and whatnot. So I think they have a right, but now we are there and we are asking for their votes, so we should be representing them a lot better.
All right. In case you just joined us, I'm Oral Gibbs. You're watching Speaking of Everything, or you're listening to Speaking of Everything with Show One, because we're on FM 99.9. That's Hot FM 99.9 here in Simpson Bay, St. Martin. We're also on Facebook and YouTube. So, and my guest on the program is independent member of Parliament, MP Ludmila Duncan. But your name is, you have other name?
Actually, my first name is Solange, which is my mother's name.
Okay.
But I've always gone by my middle name.
All right.
Ludmila, yeah.
All right. And so she's an independent member of Parliament. When we come back, we'll continue to speak with her right here on Speaking of Everything.
In order to know what you want out of life, you need to observe, listen, and try it yourself.
Promises, we can make it. If we work together, that's just how it is. Let's stand strong, oh, and serve the land. Working hard as one nation, yes we can. Yes we can.
The more difficult it is to achieve, the more satisfying it is to make it.
Just believe in us, we'll see you through it all. Oh, never give up. Oh, never give up. We can make it.
Never forget those who were there for you. And if you dream big, you might just achieve it.
The power to serve, standing for community. OGB, got the power to serve, the power to serve. We got the energy. OGB.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-.
My guest here on Speaking of Everything is independent member of Parliament. That's independent member of Parliament, MP Ludmila Duncan, and she's my guest on the program, speaking about why she left and everything else. I gotta ask you this: how have they treated you, your friends in the party? Because look, when you cross the aisle, become an independent member, they're not happy.
No, I believe that everyone has a right to feel the way that they feel. So those that are upset or disappointed, they have a right to feel that way. But I hope that they understand that I took this stance based on principles that I believe are extremely important. I must say that everyone in general is respectful. You know, we have good working relationships. You know, I think I have respect for everyone. Everyone has general respect for me. I could understand the disappointment, but I haven't gotten any real negative feedback, at least not to my face. So
at least that's good, because
yes.
If this had happened in 98, 99, 2000, boy,
I would have get struck off by someone.
you'd have had to go into exile.
I know, trust me, I know, because I can go back to last September with the issuance of the land issue, and me voting on that motion of disapproval was actually, I think, the catalyst, because you don't do that. You don't go against the party.
Yeah, but that whole issue there has cast the party in a whole different light to a lot of people.
Yeah, and again, it's not personal at all. It's really, I look at it as just how decisions are made. There's a different way, there's more than one way to solve a problem, and land, again, is a scarce resource. I know that all of the ministers before have issued land because they can. So it's not illegal to just issue land to who you want to. But especially now, when we're talking good governance, right? We're talking good governance. The Dutch is asking for good governance at the airport. We see issues at GB. That means that all of us have to be held accountable. It's about accountability. Your decisions have to be open and fair and proper. And that's all, for me, is what's important. How we are making decisions that affect the people.
See, I know you had a whole program on glasses for kids. Is that over now? Or?
Yes, no. I think it's actually going to become a program, because it started out as a project, Hope in Sight, where I asked persons who were vulnerable, so families who have it tough right now, could sign up, and glasses would be given free new glasses to youth 16 and under. And so we got a number of requests, I would say about 200 requests, and so far we have given out 70 new glasses for free, and the plan is to continue, once the new school year opens back up, to continue giving out free glasses, and hopefully we can expand to create workshops in the schools on eye health, because it's important.
But is there any program where ophthalmologist goes to school and check the vision of children?
No, it is not a structural thing, and I believe that it should be, right? Because if you're in school, you're supposed to be healthy completely, and we have food programs, but we also have to look at health, eye care, even dental care and so forth, because a child can't be its best self if they can't see, if they're unhealthy. So I am hoping to work with all stakeholders, including government, in order to improve how our children learn about taking care of themselves in school.
There were some food programs in the school. Do you know if that's still continuing?
That is a good question. I know that it was budgeted for, but I did hear now that there might be budget issues with CFT. I'm not 100% sure, but that is a question to ask, ask the government about the food programs, because things are tough right now. Things are very hard.
So are you satisfied with the whole restructuring, rebuilding of the island since Hurricane Irma? And we had the NRPB here just recently, the director, Mr. Connor, because the population, the people that voted for you and the others, they're not happy. Yeah. And in fact, they're not happy with that whole resettling proposal and the amount of money that's going towards it.
It's so interesting what we've been through over the last few years. The World Bank operates that way everywhere else, and this is our first time dealing with them. Very, very stringent rules and regulations. Things take way too long. So the public has a right to be frustrated, because it shouldn't have taken this long in order to repair homes and so forth. We're still waiting for certain schools to be rebuilt. Everything is just happening too slowly. It's happening, but very, very slow. So people have a right to be frustrated about that. And I hope that over the next couple of years, we can see things speed up. Because I was one who said, I see the NRPB, 7 years, I think was, no, we're going to probably be here for a little bit longer trying to fix these problems.
Well, they extended it. And there's also talk that someday there'll be a ministry
of new works and projects. As if it's in a benefit of the people, because I know there are good people working there, working really hard to make improvements. So for me, any new institutions that come to help, because I don't think government can do it all, any new institutions that come to help, to me, is in the benefit of the country. They just have to be sustainable, because again, it's about budget, and it's about putting the right people in positions to make a difference. So when you drive around St. Martin,
now compared to a year ago? Are you satisfied the way you see things?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I think that the island needs to be it needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be beautified, and those are things that don't need a whole bunch of money. We're talking paint, we're talking just a campaign to really clean up the island and beautify it. And I'm for our own people and then for the tourists as well. But yeah, I don't know. We're definitely in a place in the country right now where a lot needs to happen that is not happening. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're going to hear a lot from you in the months to come.
Yes, I will. The people will definitely see a difference. They will definitely see a difference. I've heard that I've been quiet, and they always question, why are you so quiet? Is it because you disagree? So they will definitely see a difference, because to me now I have to prove myself, and the work that I know that I have to do is going to come out and speak for itself. So definitely hear more from me now.
No, but it's good, because I must say you and MP Gomes are two MPs that if I contact, it's right away. Oh, Westcott is there for a long time, but that's different. But from the new ones, I really appreciate that, because sometimes you contact people and they miss it for months, and then they say you don't invite them, but they don't explain why. So I'm happy that you're different in that. That's good.
Well, thank you, thank you. No, I'm here for everyone, and I'm humbled in this position, so I'm going to do my best, and I believe that we have a year and a half left to make some improvements for the country.
So that sounds good, because then we will have a government for the next year and a half.
Then. We will.
Mm-hmm. All right. So again, MP, I want to thank you and wish you much success. And
thank you so much.
Hope we have you back again sometime. All right.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And that's it for now. I'll see you next time right here on Speaking of Everything. Until then, take care. Bye.